Growing up, I always looked up to my elder brother. He was the first to leave the village, the first to make it in the city, and the one everyone pointed to when they spoke of success. Mansions, cars, trips abroad, he had it all. People said he was a self-made man, but I knew the truth: he had help, chances, people who believed in him. I never asked him for much. Just a little support here and there, help with a job connection, a recommendation, even once just a transport fare to attend an interview. Every time, he smiled and said, "I'll do something for you soon, just be patient." But that soon never came. Instead, he helped his wife's brothers start businesses. He sent his in-laws abroad. I heard he even built a house for his wife's cousin. All while I struggled to pay rent and feed myself. The worst part? He didn't even let me visit. Said he was too busy or that the kids were around, as if being broke made me contagious. I stopped calling. Years later, I met Ada. She wasn't rich, but she had something my brother never gave me: belief. She saw the little things I could do, brushed up my CV, and even used her connections to get me into a job I had once only dreamed about. It was tough at first, but I held on. And with time, things turned around. I got promoted. Then again. I started saving, investing, building the life I used to beg my brother to help me with. Ada and I got married, bought a house, and even sent my younger cousin to school. I didn't hear from my brother for years. Until last week. He called. Voice shaky. Said he had heart disease. The doctors were asking for money. Lots of it. He didn't beat around the bush. He needed help from me. The same me he once looked down on. The same me he never lifted a finger for. Now the table has turned, and he's sitting across it, waiting. I didn't respond right away. I sat on the edge of the bed that night, phone still in my hand, his message echoing in my mind. Please, I know I failed you, but I'm begging. Help me. I have no one else. Ada walked in quietly, holding our baby girl in her arms. She looked at me, saw the storm on my face, and said nothing at first. Just placed the baby in her crib, and came to sit beside me. It's your brother, I said finally. She didn't look surprised. He's sick? I nodded. She waited, as if letting the silence do its work. Then she asked softly, "Do you want to help him?" That question felt heavier than it sounded. Did I? A part of me remembered sleeping hungry. Walking miles to job interviews. Being rejected by my own blood, not because he couldn't help, but because he chose not to. No, I said, voice low. I don't think I do. Ada reached for my hand and held it gently. And yet, you're still sitting here thinking about it. I wanted to be angry. Angry at her kindness. At my own hesitation. But she was right. I could have ignored the call. Blocked his number. But I didn't. The next day, I went to see him. He was nothing like the man I remembered. He looked smaller, older, fragile, like life had drained the pride out of him. When he saw me, his eyes welled up. I don't deserve to even ask, he said, but I have no one left. They are all gone, the same people I gave everything to. Nobody even picks my calls. I looked around the room. No gold frames. No signs of wealth. Just pills, a hospital bed, and silence. I'm not here because you deserve it, I said calmly. I'm here because I do. He lowered his head, ashamed. I didn't promise anything that day. I just stood, watched him for a while, then walked out. Now I sit in my car, staring at the hospital bill in my hands. I have the money. It won't break me. But it won't be easy either. And I keep asking myself, what do I owe a man who never showed up for me? That night, I couldn't sleep. Ada noticed the way I kept turning from side to side, eyes open in the dark, mind weighed down by memories that refused to stay buried. "You're thinking about him again," she said. I didn't respond. Because it wasn't just about my brother anymore. It was about everything he represented: neglect, betrayal, the years of struggle I faced alone. I remembered one December, years ago, when I had to spend Christmas with a neighbor's family because I couldn't afford transport to visit anyone. My brother had been hosting a grand party that same day. I watched it on someone else's WhatsApp status. And now, after all that, he was back, not with an apology, not with a sense of regret, but with a request. The next morning, I went to see Pastor Chitty. Not because I needed prayers, but because he was one of the few people who knew me back when things were hard. After listening to everything, he leaned back in his chair and said, "You know what I think hurts the most? It's not just that your brother didn't help you. It's that he could have, and chose not to." I nodded slowly. "Exactly. But now," he added, "you have to choose who you want to be. Because moments like this, they define us." I left the church with no clearer answer than I came in with. But his words stayed with me. That evening, Ada found me sitting outside with my daughter on my lap. She was laughing, reaching for my nose with her little fingers, innocent and full of life. I wondered what kind of man I wanted her to know me as. "Whatever you decide," Ada said, sitting beside me, "I know it'll come from a place of strength, not bitterness." I finally made the call. My brother answered after the second ring. "I'll pay the hospital bill," I said, flat. "But that's all. I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for me. Because I don't want to carry this anger forever." He was silent on the line. Then he whispered, "Thank you." I hung up without saying more. But the story wasn't over. Not even close. Because now the question wasn't just about money or forgiveness. It was this. What happens when the person who once left you behind needs you to carry them? A week passed after I paid the hospital bill. There was no celebration. No long, emotional thank you speech. Just a quiet receipt from the hospital, and a message from one of the nurses saying my brother's treatment had begun. That was it. I didn't expect more. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel anything. Maybe I expected at least a bit of humility. Or an attempt at closure. But nothing came. Life moved on. I returned to work, Ada returned to her small business, and our daughter continued growing, babbling new sounds and crawling after everything with tiny, determined hands. Then, out of nowhere, I got another call. This time, not from my brother. It was his wife. "Please," she said quickly, her voice tight, "he's not doing well. The doctors say he needs surgery now. They said you're the one paying. Please come." I hesitated. The same woman who once refused to let me into their home because I didn't look presentable was now begging me to rush to the hospital. I told her I'd think about it. That evening, I sat with Ada in the kitchen while she cut vegetables. "You already saved his life once," she said, not looking up. "But you don't owe them a second chance if they don't respect the first." That line stayed with me. Still, something pushed me to go. When I got to the hospital, I didn't walk in like a savior. I walked in like a man carrying a burden I never asked for. He was awake. Pale, thinner than before, but awake. He looked at me like he'd seen a ghost. Or maybe a past he had tried to forget. "I didn't think you'd come," he said, voice cracked. I almost didn't. He tried to smile, but his lips barely moved. "You always had the softer heart," he whispered. I was too proud. I thought helping you would make me look weak. There it was. A confession. Late, broken, but real. I didn't need you to carry me, I said. I just needed you to believe in me. He closed his eyes. Maybe in shame. Maybe in peace. I see that now. The doctor came in, talking quickly about surgery options, costs, and decisions. It was clear, either I helped again, or he'd likely not make it. And in that moment, I stood between the man I had become, strong, respected, successful, and the little boy who used to wait for his big brother's approval. And now I had to choose again. Save the man who abandoned me. Or walk away, and finally close the door. I didn't answer the doctor right away. I stepped out into the hallway and stood near the window. The sun was setting, that kind of gold-orange light that makes everything look softer than it really is. I watched people walking into the hospital, a boy holding his mother's hand, a woman wiping her tears with a scarf, a man pacing nervously on a phone call. Everyone here was carrying something. I was no different. I called Ada. She picked on the first ring. Are you okay? They want to operate, I said. It's serious. There was a pause. Then, and you? I don't know. Another pause. Then don't rush it, she said. Take a breath. Make the choice you can live with, not just today, but 5 years from now. I closed my eyes and listened to the sound of her breathing. It grounded me. When I went back into the room, he was asleep. His wife was sitting in the corner, rubbing her palms together like she was washing off guilt. She looked at me with swollen eyes. We made mistakes, she said. We judged you, ignored you. I didn't think you'd become anything. I looked at her, not with anger, but with clarity. You didn't have to believe in me. He did. She nodded slowly, then looked down. I'll pay for the surgery, I said finally. But after this, don't ever ask me for anything again. She opened her mouth to speak, but thought better of it. She just nodded, quietly. I turned to leave, but just before I reached the door, my brother stirred. He opened his eyes halfway and whispered, I wish I had been more like you. I didn't respond. Because by then, I realized something deeper, he could never have been like me. He never learned how to live without help. I did. The surgery was booked for the next morning. I signed the papers, transferred the money, and went home. But sleep didn't come easy that night. Because even after all this, the pain, the healing, the revenge that never really felt like revenge, I still wondered. Was this forgiveness? Or was I just finally done waiting for an apology? The surgery went well. The doctor called me that afternoon and said my brother pulled through. He'll need time, the doctor added, but he's stable. I thanked him and ended the call. I didn't go back to the hospital. Instead, I stayed home with Ada and our daughter. I watched her laugh as she chased bubbles in the backyard, her little legs wobbling, her joy pure, and untouched by the kind of bitterness I had lived with for years. A week passed. Then 2. No calls from my brother. No messages. Just silence. Maybe he was healing. Maybe he was ashamed. Maybe he finally understood the weight of everything he'd thrown away. Then, one evening, just as we were finishing dinner, a letter arrived. No stamp, no delivery slip, just an envelope tucked into our front gate. Inside, written in shaky handwriting, were only a few lines. I spent years being rich in things, but poor in love. You spent years empty-handed, but rich in heart. I hope one day you can truly forgive me. And if not, at least now you know I finally see you. Your brother, Chika. I folded the letter and sat with it in my hands. There were no tears. No big emotional wave. Just a quiet, unexpected peace. I had spent so long wanting him to acknowledge my pain, to feel what I felt. Now he had. Not through wealth, not through power, but through loss, sickness, and silence. And maybe that's the kind of apology life gives us sometimes, broken, late, and imperfect. But honest. I walked outside that night, looked up at the sky, and let out a long breath I didn't know I'd been holding for years. Then I walked back in. To my wife. To my daughter. To the life I built with my own hands. And I finally closed the door.